Everybody stand back up. Stand back up. All right, remember, everybody up, everybody up, everybody up. Let's get everybody back to your seats real quick. Everybody up. That includes you, Marshall. Everybody up, everybody, everybody. Everybody, if you could just... So remember, very easy. Do as I say. Do as I say. Do as I say. Right hand up. Left hand up. Right foot up. Left foot up. All right? We're going to do it one more time. Just one more time. Right hand up. Left hand up. Right foot up. Left foot up. All right? You got it? Now you're going to, again, one more. We're going to do two more times. You're going to do the opposite of what I say. So right hand up. Left hand up. Right foot up. Left foot up. Right hand up. Left foot up. Some of you already got confused. All right, you can have a seat. You can have a seat. Here, so check this out. This is kind of how this goes, because I'm actually going to be sharing on Sunday, and I'm going to be talking about this as well. So many times when we are told to do something, and we're like, follow the directions, do exactly what I say, it's very easy to be guided in what to do. It's very easy when someone says, follow these instructions and do it this way, we do it that way. And some of us, like some of you out there, like you thrive and you are like, you need instruction. You need to be told what to do. You need to know exactly how to. So when I said, you know, your right hand, your left hand, all of those things. But as soon as I said, do the opposite of what I say, something happens in our mind that we get confused. And some of us are able to like get it, but like all of you look like you're doing a robot out there real quick, because like you're kind of confused of where you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to go. And right foot, left foot, that means if I tell you to do the right foot, that means do your left foot. If I tell you to do the left foot, that means your right foot. And we went back and forth and back and forth. And sometimes it's just easy to be guided in what we're supposed to do. And it's one of these things that we're going to jump into this new series, and we are going to be talking about the choices that we make. And the series entitled Jesus Guides Me. Jesus guides me. And we're going to talk about how this week and next week there are a period of choices that we make, and that Jesus actually can guide us through those choices. He's able to allow us to get through those choices so that we make the right choices. How many of you ever made a bad choice? Someone said every day. Okay. I hope not every day. I hope it's more than or less than every day, because that would just be bad. But we make choices every day, and let's talk about the most obvious choice sometimes we make. Posting on social media. Let's just talk about some of the most obvious choices that we make. And sometimes we log on to social media, and sometimes, how many of you have ever forgotten to log off of your social media, and someone that is a friend logs on your account and begins to post things and put things or take selfies or do whatever? How many of you ever have done that to other people? I do it. This is horrible. This is live, but I do this to Pastor Troy all the time. If Pastor Troy leaves it open, I will type in Pastor Troy's Facebook status, like, I wish I was as cool as Micah, and things like that. Like I will put like, I love to wear purple and pink, and I believe in unicorns and rainbow. You know, like I just try to come up with the craziest things I can put up for Pastor Troy's status. But when we forget to log off on things, and you have those friends, sometimes those friends will post a bunch of things. How many of you ever left your phone unlocked around your friends, and you come back and there is like a burst of selfies of your friends? Some of you have even done this to me. Yes. I have opened my phone some nights when I laid it down, and I come back and there are like my whole entire thing is filled with pictures. And so sometimes we forget to log off and things like that. And so, and I once left my Facebook open, and I don't know like what happened, but I got poked. Do you guys know poking is still a thing? Like, which is really weird. Can we just talk about that? Like the whole poking on Facebook, like you poke people, like just don't poke people. All right. But I ended up, someone went on my Facebook and they poked a bunch of people. And I was just awkward because I was like, hey, I didn't really mean to poke you, and I'm sorry, it wasn't me. And they're like, yeah, sure it wasn't you. Yeah, it was really awkward. But okay, let's do this. How many of you have ever, you get so upset and you text someone to tell them all about this person, but by mistake, you're texting the person you're talking about. Oh, yeah, baby. Some of you, that does hurt. You're like, dude, that person's a slime ball. They're such a turd and blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden you realize you sent it to that person. And you're like, oh, that's just absolutely terrible. Like, that was a really bad choice because sometimes, like, I've seen some of you guys text, like, super fast. It's like, and you're like, boom, it's done, it's finished, and, like, you get it all out. But when you send something to the wrong person, it's always, like, how do you recover from that? And they're like, oh, you talking about me? You're like, no, yeah. Like it's so awkward because it's like, how do we navigate and how do we get through that decision making? And how are we able to overcome that when you send a text to the wrong person? Sometimes we just need a little bit more time to think and be guided through things before we are. And so that's where we're gonna jump into tonight, because there's an interesting thing that I'm seeing in culture that I want to talk about, because it does have a little bit to do with social media, but it's a trend that I am seeing that our culture is kind of shifting to something and away from something else. And if we're not careful, if we continue to shift towards this one thing and away from this other thing, what's going to happen is we're going to become even a more confused person than we already are. So, but before we talk about that, I want you to use your imagination for a second. Some of you, that's pretty big. But I want you to imagine a world that you live in where everyone likes you no matter what you do. I just want you to take about 10 seconds and think about a world that you live in. No matter what you do, people like you. You can yell at old people. You can like just go and steal stuff. You can go and do whatever you do. No matter what, people love you. Like you go up and you smack someone. They're like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that smack in the face. So great. You go steal someone's car and they're like, oh, have a nice drive. Take my car. But think about it. If I could be honest, that would absolutely drive me insane. How many of you would go nuts if it were like everyone liked, it would drive me absolutely crazy. But we have this mentality sometimes where we might not say like, hey, I want everyone to like me all of the time. But we really have a thing inside of us that wants people to like us all the time. Now, it sounds really crazy to say, well, people, I don't want people to like me all of the time. That sounds crazy. Why would people try to like me all of the time? And it's really hard to please people, because I don't know if you know this or not. I'm not sure if anyone ever told you this or not. But at some point, someday, you're going to find out that someone doesn't like you. I don't know if you know that, but at some point, you're going to find out that people actually can't stand you. They highly, highly dislike you. But what's interesting is that just like it would be wild to imagine that everyone likes us all of the time, we live in a culture that might not say it, but definitely believes it. I want you to stay with me tonight, because I want you to catch what I'm going to talk about tonight. And we have this desire that people pay attention to us. We have a desire that people do like us. There's something inside of us where really we want to be popular and we want people to like us. And really what we have done is we've really made a decision that being popular, being liked, being accepted is the number one priority of what I have to do. You know what's interesting to me? I really think about it this way. What if we took all of the energy that we put in trying to get people's attention? What if we took all of that energy of trying to get people to like us, trying to get people to accept us, trying to get people to want to be like us? What if we took all of that energy that we use and we harness that energy and put it towards God? Imagine how the world would be if the same desire that we tried to get accepted with is the same desire that we tried to reflect Jesus with. Imagine how different everything would be if our whole mindset was not on trying to be popular, but trying to make him popular. Everything would shift and everything would be so much different than really what it is. And the biggest and the hardest thing is that when you think about this, there is purpose and there's popularity. And really, in essence, purpose and popularity are two way different things. But we live in a society where we think about when you think about your purpose, and you're thinking about all this stuff, you really don't think about popularity. But when it comes to serving God, he says, listen, I want you to think about your purpose first and not your popularity. And what's hard about this is we really haven't been taught how to think about our purpose. We really have not paid attention to this because culture is so driven on popularity that's the way that it has gone. It has totally shifted into what is popular, but not what the purpose is. And the best way that I can show you, what is this? Tell me. Okay, very simple, right? This is a hammer. It's a hammer. This is a hammer. And what does a hammer do? Well, the purpose of a hammer is to smash a nail or to smash things, or if you're Christian, you're working on a house and you're ripping things down. But the purpose of a hammer is to do work or to do damage or whatever it is. That is the purpose of a hammer, right? Now imagine with me that you have never in your entire life seen a hammer. Just imagine with me that you've never seen a hammer. To be as weird as it sounds, some of us would look at this and be like, what am I supposed to do with it? We wouldn't understand what the hammer was meant for. If we did not know the purpose of the hammer, we would never understood what the hammer is supposed to do. And you know what's funny is, the one thing that we don't do is we don't look at the hammer and say, what's your purpose? What are you supposed to be doing right now? Do you know what you're supposed to be doing? I'm not sure if you realize what is it? What is your purpose? What are you supposed to be doing? But they have no, and obviously it doesn't answer you back because the purpose of the hammer is to what? It is to build. It is to be a tool in the use of someone that has hands. But so often when we live a life, we don't know what the purpose is of what we are supposed to be doing, and we don't know what to do, and we're like, man, I really don't have understanding. And you got to understand that your popularity doesn't define your purpose. Popularity will never define your purpose. What's crazy is we could have 100 hammers that are lined up ready to go. We could have 1,000. We could have 1,000,000 hammers, and they could be the most popular thing. But if no one knows how to use it, it doesn't mean anything. If no one knows the purpose of what it's meant to do, then no one will understand what to do with it. And see, what has happened is we have shifted in a culture where really we've become people that are more obsessed with the popularity, and we feel like, well, the popularity will define my purpose. And we see this so instantly in the world that we live in, the culture that we live in, because it kind of goes like this. Well, if I can just get maybe 50 more likes, I'll have more purpose. If I can get 10,000 more views, I'll have purpose. If I can get 20,000 more shares, I'll have purpose. And we thrive to have these likes on social medias that will define us and have more of a purpose. But can I tell you, as an adult, when you grow up, it just shifts. It might not be, I might not care if people like my picture, but I certainly care that people like what I drive. I certainly care that people think highly of the job that I have or the house that I live in. And I begin to shift from the things that really shouldn't matter to things that I'm making matter that shouldn't matter because I'm worried about what people think about my popularity. I want to be popular. I want to be accepted. I want people to care about me. Guys, listen to me. When we live for the approval of people rather than the approval of God, we are more concerned with what each other thinks about each other than really what God thinks about all of us. And as our culture begins to continually shift, we continue to see that popularity is becoming more important to a society than the purpose. And that's a very dangerous place to live. And if we don't have the right tools and the right things to help get us through this, we will constantly forget who we are. We'll forget our meaning, and we'll forget that what God created us for. Your pursuit of popularity will distract you from your pursuit of purpose. Trying to be accepted by people will distract you from knowing that you're already accepted by God. Isn't it interesting that we try so hard to be accepted by a generation of people that we don't even really know very well, but we want them to accept us so bad that we're willing to compromise and we're willing to do things that we won't normally do. And we seek the popularity of man so bad, but we already have the approval and popularity of God. The one thing that we already have, that we have access to at any time, is the one thing that we're trying to get. Is the one thing that we're trying to get more of in our lives, more attention, more this, more that. And God's like, yo, hey, I'm up here. I'm here for you. I've given you all of the attention. I'm giving you all of me. You have full access to me. I can be everything that you need, but yet we're still looking at everything else to try to find purpose. Popularity versus purpose. See, the pursuit of popularity becomes a distraction. We are more obsessed with what culture and people think than what God already says. And I found that if we continue on this way, things are going to get more dangerous for us. The fastest way for us to forget what God has said about us is for us to become obsessed with everything else. The fastest way for us to forget the purpose that we have from God is for us to become distracted with everything else, and rather being obsessed with him, we become obsessed with everything else. And the thing is understand me, everybody look at me, none of us are immune to this. None of us are immune to it. None of us are. We all try to reach popularity in our own version of who we are. It might not be a social media thing, but it might be a certain style of life that you're trying to get. It might be a certain accolade of athletics or academics that you're trying to achieve because you feel like that will give me purpose. If I just do this, I'll have purpose. It's interesting in the Bible, it says in Jeremiah 29:11, one of the most often quoted verses of the Bible. It says this, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. They are plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." Now we read this verse, we're like, man, this is a good verse. Like, there's some things you read in the Bible and you're like, that's not a good verse. You read this verse in the Bible, you're like, this is a good verse. Why? Because God says, I know the plans I have for you. They're good plans. Plans to prosper you, to not harm you, to give you what? A hope and a future. And we throw this verse around all the time thinking, yeah, this is it. This is the go-to verse. I can bank everything on this. Well, do you know the context of which this verse was written in? See, we don't talk about that. We just take the verse and say, oh man, I'm gonna run with this. I'm gonna run with this verse. Well, here, let's look at what really was going on. The Israelites were in exile as a punishment from God. God said, listen, you're gonna be punished from me, so I'm gonna put you in exile. The prophet Jeremiah comes rolling into town because there's another prophet named Hananiah who is false prophesying to Israel because Israel is in exile, and he keeps saying, guys, 2 more years of exile. That's it, 2 more years of exile. Jeremiah rolls in, he's like, shut your mouth. You shut your mouth right now because it's not what God is saying. That's not what God is saying. What God is saying is seek the peace and the prosperity of the city which you are in first. Pray to the Lord for it, and if it prospers, so will you. And then he goes on and says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. So he's literally saying, listen, this is what you need to do. And I'm gonna tell you right now, this is not what Israel wanted to hear. They wanted to be told they were gonna go home, that they could be free. They wanted to be told that their suffering was going to end. Instead, God's plan was for them to stay right where they are. And he's saying, listen, you stay in this present moment, but know in the future that I have a plan for you. In the future, I have something that I'm going to ask you to do. In the future, something's gonna happen. And can I tell you what the biggest bummer of all of this? God says that he would fulfill this 70 years after the completion of Babylon. That means that no one in that current generation of exile is going to get this prosperous future. The hope in the future that they're talking about, the plans to prosper and not to harm you. No. This generation is not going to get it. It's going to be the next generation that gets it. See, God knows the plans he has for us, and ultimately he will give us a glorious future. But as we walk out this crazy thing called life, we must remember that best growth comes through perseverance of hardship and trial sometimes. That best growth comes when you go through some hard stuff and you persevere through it. Sometimes you just got to get through it to get to it. But let's talk about purpose for a few moments. Number one is this: purpose. When you have purpose, it'll keep you focused. It was funny. We were in the office today and we were talking about focus. I can't focus to save my life sometimes. Just the way that I'm wired. And sometimes when people look at me and I'm not paying attention, they're like, oh man, he's not focusing, but I am focusing. I'm hearing every word that you're saying. I'm just focusing on 500 other things that are happening around. But we sat the last 2 days in the office and we tried to come up with a list of what are certain things that teenagers can stay absolutely focused on. And this is what we came up with. Fortnite. TikTok. An all-you-can-eat pizza buffet.
That sounds great.
The opportunity to win money or a prize.
Yes.
See, you got to understand this. When you have something to focus on, listen, when you have something to focus on, it keeps distractions at a minimal, because distractions will not distract you when you're focused. I want you to catch that. Distractions will not distract you when you are focused. When you're like, listen, we have a purpose, we will be focused. I have a purpose, I'm focused. You know who understands this the best? Athletes. Athletes understand focus. They understand the purpose and the drive. There's something about athletes that they understand this, that I got to stay focused because I got to win. I got to win. My team needs to win. I need to win. I need to stay focused. People that are highly competitive understand what it means to stay focused. They understand what it means to have the drive, to say no matter what, I'll put in the time, I'll put in the practice. When everyone else leaves, I'll keep practicing. I'll keep doing this. They focus on winning. They want to win. They want to be the best. Their purpose is to win, not to come in second, not to get a participation trophy, not to get third place, the focus of an athlete is that I am going to win. And true athletes, it's not an option, it's the only decision. That I am going to win. And what begins to happen is when you have laser focus like that, you can have all the distractions and still stay focused. Still stayed zoomed in on what happens. And what we need to have an understanding is this: when you stay focused, you win. But more importantly, when you stay focused on purpose, you'll get to where you need to be. There's this cool verse found in Luke chapter 16:10. It says this: whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. When you are faithful to God with the little things, he will then give you access to the big things. When you are honest with the things that God has given you that are little, then you can be honest with the things that God gives you that are big. See, my hope is this. My hope is that you do have big dreams to do big things. And I hope that you can accomplish those dreams. And I hope that you can go after it. But understand this scripture tells us that if you can't be faithful with the little things, why in the world would you ever be faithful with the big things? It's focus. It's staying focused on the purpose of what is there. Its purpose keeps you focused. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to accomplish? Second thing is this: purpose really will allow you to endure. Purpose, when you have a true purpose, it pushes you to focus, pushes you to endure. pushes you to keep going, to go through. And purpose pushes you to endure and keep going. Popularity will cause you to quit. Let me tell you why. I want everyone to understand this. Popularity, if you're focused on popularity and not purpose, you'll always want to quit. Why? Because the popular thing to do is to quit. The popular thing to do is to quit, to give up, to just stop. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'll tell you what I mean by that. School is getting hard, so you quit. Your job is not what you want it to be and it's getting hard, you quit. The relationship that you're in, there's a little bump in the road, it gets too hard, you quit. The sport that you're trying out for, things are getting a little too heated, they're getting a little too hard, so you quit. The test that you're going through, it seems too difficult, so what do? You quit. There's a problem that we're seeing that the popular thing to do is to quit. See, quitting's the easy thing. I'm just gonna say it, quitting is the easy thing. It's the easy thing, and what we have to understand is when, in most cases, one never really quits the problem, he just runs away from it. See, a lot of times we'll say, oh, the problem's the job, the problem's the coach, the problem's the teacher, the problem's this, the problem's that. Well, no, if you could just get down to the root of the whole issue, the problem isn't the coach, it's not the teacher, it's not the job, it's you. Because you've been driven by popularity and not by purpose. You've been driven by something that is, you know what, I'm just gonna quit and give up because that's what everybody else does. And how many of your friends be like, just quit it, you can get another job, or just quit the team, you could do this, quit that. If you constantly are always quitting, you will never find your purpose. We will never find our purpose if we keep on quitting. Why? Because we have to understand that purpose comes with endurance. Purpose comes through endurance. You know what makes a warrior a great warrior? What makes a warrior a great warrior is that he's been through battles. What makes a fighter a great fighter is that he has fought so many fights that he knows how to fight. He just doesn't give up and quit. He keeps fighting through the fights so that he can be a great fighter. Listen to me, if you want to know the purpose of your life, you have to endure some things. You're going to have to go through some things that seem like they absolutely 100% suck, and they do. But I promise if you push through and you begin to endure and you begin to go through, you will find the purpose. Because I also understand this, that popularity will not heal your hurts. But finding purpose in God will. Popularity is not going to heal you. Popularity is not one of these things that is going to make everything okay. No, purpose in God will. You want to be healed? Find your purpose in God. And see, what I have found is people that oftentimes find their purpose in God and find purpose in who they are in Christ and become confident in Jesus and be confident in their eyes, what begins to happen is popularity will follow them because they have purpose. Because oftentimes when you do the right thing, the popularity will follow you. Because God blesses those who pursue after purpose. The pathway to your purpose, yes, it will be paved with some pain. Because every great leader has to endure pain in their life. Every great leader has to go through some things in order to get what they have. But don't be mistaken. The pursuit of your purpose pleases God. It's not in vain. You're not running a race that when you finish, nothing's gonna happen. The pursuit of your purpose, going after purpose over popularity, it will please God. And it keeps you focused. Here's the deal, you can't please everyone, but you can please God. We cannot please everyone, but we can please God. So the question is how do I please God? How do I please God and not people? Well, when you have that opportunity to sin, you choose God over sin. That's how you please God. When your friends all come up to you and are asking you to go and get high and go and get drunk or go and have sex or go or do this or do that, when the friends are doing that and you just say no, your no pleases God. When you choose to say, you know what, I'm not gonna make fun of that kid, I'm not gonna tear them down, and I'm not gonna bully them, that pleases God. When you give 100% in everything you do and you try to be the best at what you do, that pleases God. When you worship, it pleases God. When you read your scriptures, it pleases God. When you pray, it pleases God. When you live a lifestyle that is according to the Bible and according to the things that Jesus has asked you to do, when you do those things, it pleases God. All of these things help you get to your purpose. All of these things help you navigate more towards what God wants for you. So that leads us to this huge question. Well, what is God's purpose for me? What is the purpose that I have? So you got to understand that this is going to actually look different for each and every one of us. This month's series is called Jesus Guides Me, and I believe that Jesus wants to guide you towards your purpose. Every single one of you. And you know what's cool? If you can get this in your mind at your young age, you will be a lot further along your relationship than I ever was and some of the leaders were, than other people were. If you can understand this now, you will be so far along in relationship with God. But you have to understand the specifics of your purpose will often change. See, some of you, Jesus will lead you into ministry. He'll lead you to be a youth pastor. He'll lead you to go be a missionary. He'll lead you to be a children's pastor. He'll lead you to come take my job and be the youth pastor. He'll lead you into all of these things. But others, he's gonna lead you into a workforce. He's gonna lead you out into a different culture. Maybe he'll lead you into a different country where you're gonna have a job and you're gonna love people and you're just gonna do the best you can at the job that you have. You're fulfilling your purpose. See, the purpose that we are called to do is to love people as much as God loves them. And to show a revelation to Jesus. Some of you have to understand that tonight that you're going to be able to proclaim who Jesus is in business meetings and in courtrooms and in hallways and in gymnasiums and in athletic fields and in a museum, in a science center, and all these different places. Some of you, the purpose that God has for you is simply going to be sharing Jesus with everyone every day. That's the purpose. I'll be honest with you though. It's not always easy. It's not always easy. Because I guarantee you this, and I want everyone to hear what I'm about to tell you. If you truly follow Jesus, you will not be the popular one in the room. If you truly follow Jesus, you're not always going to be the most popular person in that room. But I will tell you tonight that pursuing Jesus and finding your purpose in him will fulfill your life more than any type of popularity contest ever will. Purpose over popularity. I'm going to say that again, purpose over popularity. Maybe tonight God wants to really guide you into what he has for you. Maybe tonight he simply wants to continue to guide you in this relationship with him. But the biggest question of the night is this: do I want to live a popular life, or do I want to live a purpose-filled life? Do you want to live a life where you're constantly chasing popularity? And I'm going to tell you, it's a constant chase. You'll never be satisfied. You'll never be satisfied in popularity because you'll always want more, and you'll always want more, and you'll always want more. And you'll always have this pursuit of trying to chase something that you can never catch. Or you can live a purposeful life where God says, you can have all of me, and all of me is for all of you. And I've given my son Jesus for you, and he died for you, and he rose again for you, and he's coming back for you. You have access to the greatest purpose of all time, and you have unlimited access to this. And sometimes it just doesn't make sense, man. So we're gonna go and chase after something that we'll never get, or we can just accept the gift that's already been given to us. but yet we're on this pursuit. Understand this, depending on what your answer is, it will determine how you let Jesus guide your life. If you choose popularity or if you choose purpose, you are the one that dictates how Jesus guides your life. Let's bow our heads and close our eyes for a moment. See, the coolest thing about being in relationship with one another and being in relationship with God is that we can all take this journey together. That we can be guided by God together to chase after a purpose. And it's not always going to be easy, but I promise you it'll always be worth it. And some of you, maybe even at your age, you're like, man, what is even my life for? What am I even supposed to be doing right now? You're supposed to be loving your family, loving your friends, and sharing Jesus with everyone that you encounter. Your purpose as a Christian is to be a little Christ. Your purpose as a Christian is to love people the way that Jesus did. I'm going to tell you right now that as our culture continues to develop, the pursuit of popularity will become the number one goal of a culture. There will be a handful, there will be a rogue group, a small group of you that will choose purpose over popularity. And it's something that you will never have to apologize for, because you will live a life that is so fulfilled and so amazing, and so you will know that you just have purpose in your life. But you have to make the decision in your heart and in your mind that you choose purpose over popularity. That you're not always going to be accepted, that you're not always going to be the one that everyone wants to hang around and be around. But having understanding that you're simply the one that God sent his son Jesus to die for. They might not always be there for you, but he will. And so tonight, with all heads bowed and eyes closed, nobody looking around, do you want to live a popular life, or do you want to live a purpose-filled life? I want you to think about that for one moment. Do you want to live a popular life or a purpose-filled life? Tonight, if you could honestly say, listen, I've chased popularity and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the chase. I'm sick of trying to do that because I just feel like it goes on and on and on and on. And I want to have purpose in my relationship with Jesus. If that is you tonight, all I want you to do is raise your hand. If you just raise it up high that I want to choose purpose over popularity. Hands all across this room, all across the room. You can put them down. If you raise your hand tonight, I want you to pray with me and then we'll get out of here. Say, dear Lord, tonight I choose purpose over popularity. Forgive me for my pursuit of popularity over you. Forgive me for being more concerned with what they think than what you have spoken over me. Tonight, I change my mindset. And Jesus, I need you to guide me. Guide me when it's hard. Guide me when it's easy. Guide me when I fail. And guide me when I succeed. Help me choose the purpose that you have for my life over popularity. God, tonight that is our prayer, that we will choose to be people that pursue what is the purposes that you have for us over the popularity. And so God, I pray tonight that this will be ingrained into this generation. I pray tonight for some of them, this will change the trajectory of their life. I pray tonight for some of them that they will find that this purpose of being connected to you is the greatest purpose that they can have. And I pray it's something that is deep within them, that is deep within their soul, and it's something that resonates with who they are. And we thank you and praise you. And God, I pray that this changes them. I pray that it challenges them. And I pray that it renews them in Jesus' name. And everyone said, amen, amen. Guys, I pray that this is something that you can get into your heart, you can get into your spirit, that you can have this understanding that purpose over popularity will win. It will win. The more you chase popularity, the more that you will always find yourself running in circles. When things are difficult, ask Jesus to guide you. When things are simple, ask Jesus to guide you. When things are good, ask Jesus to guide you. And when things are bad, ask Jesus to guide you, and he will.